Hi everyone, my name is Eric and I'm the developer of an upcoming action platforming game called GB Rover, which is a game about shooting your bosses and fighting for a better world. And this is this week's GB Rover development update, even though there isn't really that much developing happening anymore because like the game's done and all that. Anyway, it's like September 22nd and this is what like the past week has been like. It was a bit of a weird one. It was kind of like a bit, I don't know, like slight, I wouldn't say depressed, but like I had some like negative perspectives on things and kind of like had some days where I felt like, okay, why even bother? Which was like a bit something that like required some effort on my end to get through it, just because this like it doesn't like it never really helps when like your main line of thought is like, okay, why even try anything, because like then nothing will ever change. Anyway, I like, if you look at my website, I wrote something about that. Anyway, by the way, Wishlist GB Rover on Steam. This is something I forgot, but I'll get back to that anyway. So this is what I planned last week, more or less. Finished the demo and plan the Steam Next Fest. This is what I did for the week. I did finish the demo. I also released it, so if you would like to play a good chunk of GB Rover, you can do that right now you can go on the Steam page and download the demo there. And yeah, it's like the four main stages, but the shorter versions of those, basically the older versions of those stages, as you like, if you recall correctly, I've watched the previous like iterations of those, especially in July and early August, I think. I did spend some time to basically extend the four main stages by quite a bit. So like basically what you have now in the demo are like the four main stages, but the main, like the extra stages in the full game will be about like each stage between like, I'd say 30 to like 60% longer, like roughly. And it's like it's a very again, rough estimates. Anyway, so that's what I did. People seem to have like enjoyed the demo as far as I can see. Like overall, like the like all the wish lists and all that went up, which is kind of nice. I also like saw something or realized something where like I didn't really have or don't really have like a lot of like a big sample size because basically the only video evidence of people playing the game is like 2 YouTube videos that exist from 2 people, and both of those videos I realized featured players that never, like in both of those videos, I never saw them use the like air dash, like the dash mechanic even once. And in one of the testing surveys I got back, someone also, I think it's in both, I'm not quite sure, at least in the most recent one, that person also said that they didn't know that the dash gave you invincibility frames. These are all kind of things that are sort of important for the game, and it made me a bit concerned because in the full game there's at least one mini boss that will become incredibly painful if you don't know how to use your dash, and if people just don't use it, like it kind of like really takes a lot out of the game in my eyes. So I was a bit concerned, and I did spend some time on last Sunday to rework or like try to rework the section in the intro stage. This doesn't help people playing the demo because the intro stage isn't part of the demo, but like it might help people playing the full game at the end. Like reworking basically part of the intro stage where like basically the game tells you, okay, now use your dash, and this is how your dash works basically. So just for this purpose, I am going to try and like show this to you right now. This is like the wrong window. I am very good. I think this is the wrong, isn't it? Yeah, I have right now I have 2 iterations of GB Rover running on my PC, so I have to make sure that I'm in the right one. So this is the intro stage shortly after you have finished the monotonous work sequence, And this is basically the part where like, okay, here's the basic controls without any kind of like external, okay, and this is like the jump button or whatever, because right now I'm not really sure, like I'm actually not sure how to like script this or program this in the game in a way where it's like very easily adaptable to stuff outside of like me using like small graphics instead of button prompts. I could use that. I mean, I do that with the shooting thing at the start. Maybe I do that. Still have to think about it. But like basically this is, okay, here you can't run anywhere. Okay, well, you have to jump. And this is like, okay, you have to jump again. Kind of redundant, but anyway. And this is the part that is supposed to teach you the double jump. As you can see, you can jump as high as you want. You can't get over here, and with the normal jump you can't get even out. So what do you do really? Well, you have a double jump. So that's kind of the idea. Theoretically, you could skip this whole sequence if you like dash and then do a double jump, but like this skipping requires you to use both the technique that this sequence teaches you and also like the technique that is going to like is supposed to be taught to you in the next sequence. So now comes this, and basically my idea was like when I built this, and I realized back then that it wasn't really ideal, to build something where you can't really use your double jump, but the problem is that you can use your double jump from there. And you can use your double jump from there, but the idea was basically that it's a bit too hard to use your double jump, so people might realize that they have to use their dash, but also the dash is kind of like finicky, so it wasn't really an ideal solution, and it's definitely something where people can just use their double jump, and it's not that hard. Like, and like looking back at this, I'm kind of questioning what I was thinking here, in terms of like how this was all set up. But at the same time, one thing I really wanted to avoid here, and like one of the principles that I had with this setup. Let me switch out of here again. One thing I really wanted to do with this setup was build something where I wouldn't have to like rely on basically killing the player or hurting the player unless they learn a specific technique. Or more or less, I wanted to build setups where like the like main problem would be, okay, players are stuck until they apply the technique. The problem with the double jump and the dash is that both roughly cover the same horizontal distance, and the screen isn't that large. Like I can't really, for example, put a platform very far out and make a very large gap, because both the dash in itself wouldn't cover that distance, and the second part is it would lead to having you do a blind jump, which is also garbage. So I was kind of like stuck, and I had some ideas on how to fix this. Like I tried doing like a long platform with a larger like pit and then a ladder that you would have to climb back up, so that you like that I had like a bit of a better setup for the case when you miss your jump and like fall down. The problem there also was that like no matter what I did, and also like restricting the vertical height you could get in a jump, the problem there always was that there were always still ways for you to use your double jump to make that gap. It would be a bit harder, but it was still possible. And in case people never really realize that there is a dash function in the game, this might lead to situations where they just use the double jump for as long as until they get past this section and just think, oh my god, what garbage level design this was. So I had to, and like I really tried, and there was also the problem that again, because both mechanics kind of roughly cover the same horizontal distance, I couldn't just make a large gap that wouldn't be like, I could make a gap that was large enough that the double jump was nearly impossible, but then also the dash would be like very finicky to do. Like it would be possible, but basically only in 8 out of 10 cases or 9 out of 10 cases. And again, if you want to teach a mechanic that's central to the game, having a setup where it's not guaranteed that people use the mechanic is not very ideal. Like, so so what I did then was, and I still don't like it, and it's still not, I still haven't really committed to putting it in the full game, because again, I'm not a big fan of it. So let me switch this over. So what I did instead, so we are here in this double jump pit, and as you can see, this is completely changed because I completely removed this learn how to dash section from this level, and instead I changed the next screen. If you played the playtest version or any of the other versions that had the intro stage in it, you may remember that this section had one of these these like pistons that like slam to the ground, which is like kind of part of the overall level gimmick that would have gotten introduced here. And instead I decided, okay, why don't I just turn this into a here's how you are required to use your dash section, which unfortunately involves, if I hadn't used cheats to deactivate the instant death from the spikes. Let me just quickly, because this is kind of annoying. Here you can see how you can get through like all of this stuff. So again, like one of the modifiers that you can have is like that stage hazards only hurt you instead of kill you, but like the default is that stage hazards kill you. And I usually build this stuff around the like state, like the defaults. I can't account for like people using modifiers with this kind of stuff, because then it would get really, really confusing. But anyway, let's pretend that like I already did that, and okay, this is what I constructed then, was this section. You can't really use your double jump here. If you like try to use your double jump, like you can do like kind of like try and coyote time it and then later on jump or whatever, it just doesn't work. You either like collide with the spikes beneath you, or you are like you jump into the like spikes on the ceiling. What I don't like about this is that this is a setup where basically it says dash or die. There is no like nothing else here. So, and you can just like dash through the gap, and it's not a big problem. This does not teach you invincibility frames. I have no idea how to teach you that. It's part of the menu, the manual that you can read in the main menu, but who reads stuff? So I'm not blaming people for that. It's like still some of the, this is like one of the roughest parts for me, like to figure out still, to make sure that people learn what their tools are without like explicitly tell them. And anyway, so this is like the setup where I'm like pretty sure that either people will die over and over again and think I'm like the most cruelest person ever for building this, which is completely impossible, or they will learn that, oh, wait a second, there's a dash here, and I can just use this. Well, let me see, can I, or I could just do this, which would be like much more complicated. But anyway, so you can do that. The problem really here is that I have is that it's again either dash or die, and I don't like doing these kinds of things with instant death pits, because again there was a fairly old like essay, I think, about Dark Souls in general, like difficulty, like way before like the difficulty discourse was a thing to that degree. An essay from like a games critic, I don't think that they are active anymore, called Austin Howe, and they were talking about like basically certain types of difficulty, or like game difficulty, had the attitude of like quote unquote a Republican dad. So someone who like wants to teach you how to like be good at baseball, and the only way as a dad that they can think of teaching their kids how to be good at baseball is to thus just throw the ball at them as hard as they can, and if they get hit by it, it's their fault basically. And this is kind of like Republican dad game design to some degree, because it's like, okay, if you're not learning your dash, you're going to keep dying over and over again in the intro stage before even seeing the first enemy. The good thing is the good thing is that you won't have to go through the whole like 2-minute like monotonous work sequence, because you only have to go through that once, and if you die, it's like you basically start like at the like in that room, but like the sequence before that is getting skipped. But it's still like something that I personally don't like that much, but at the same time I don't know what else to do in that regard. And again, I haven't put it like in the game itself. I'm still like considering what else I might do, and maybe I'll get a better idea and do something else. I could also like come up with some kind of stage hazard or something else that only damages you when you do that, but like outside of you actively changing the way stage hazards work, every stage hazard is instant death. So me introducing a stage hazard that only damages you, like a stage hazard like spikes or whatever, I'm not talking about enemies, just doesn't make sense. So like, because it would then break another rule I have set up for this game. So either way, it's kind of like a rough situation, and it's not completely because I'm not like able or wasn't able to see that. The problem really, and it was already the problem with the initial setup, was that I couldn't find a good way to build a layout that would warrant you only being able to use your dash without also it being possible to with your double jump. Because it is like, I can just, you could say, oh, maybe just do a pit where you like drop down if you don't use a dash. Well, you can run and then fall a bit and then do your double jump and like bridge the gap. And again, the problem is because both maneuvers kind of cover roughly the same horizontal distance, a gap that I'll build that you can bridge with your dash will also be possible, or most likely be possible to be bridged with a double jump if you have the space to execute it. So it's a bit of a rough thing, and it's like to some degree a lack of like on my end to like find a good solution, obviously, because I'm the level designer. But it's also like the constraints that come with the like screen size that I have, which is fairly small, and something where like occasionally run into trouble with in terms of like what I wanted to like build a level and how much space I had to actually build something that was still like good to navigate and interesting. And also like again, and like as an extension of that, like the movement physics, because of course I could make the air dash faster or whatever, but because you have like such a small screen size, the faster you move, the less likely it's going to be possible to like properly control yourself. This is like one of the issues I had like with one of the like prototype things that I was working on like on the side and over the past few weeks, where like was trying to like build something where like speed was a bit more of a factor with the same screen layout, and I found it like fairly like hard to like deal with, and again also like not very interesting. So it's a weird thing where like you're running into the constraints that you gave yourself on the aesthetic sides in terms of like also like how the level design and the movement physics works, and where you can also see how all of these things kind of like intertwine into one another, and where like an aesthetic decision also is something that in the end like obviously shapes the way you design your levels and shapes the way your movement physics work, and like all of these things kind of like influence each other then like further out or like later down the line. So right now I don't think that there's like a different way for me to do this. I hope this is okay, but the alternative would be to not do that, and then have people play the game, run into like the mini boss in the forest stage, which to my like the way I build it and to my knowledge, I don't think is really possible without a dash, like because it's like a thing that moves fairly quickly on the ground and it shoots upwards. You can't really jump over it, I don't think. I mean, you could maybe like force your way through it with like raw damage, but it'll be rough. So I have either risking people just then running into that wall and like several other walls where like kind of you're meant to use your dash, or I run into the problem where like people will have issues there at the start. And I'd much rather have people have issues there right at the start and then be comfortable and at least where they know that this dash exists and they can use it, which also like would give them even more benefit. And again, the dash has iframes, so you like can dodge projectiles and attacks from enemies that way. You have like there's a perfect dodge mechanic where if you dodge like very like close to getting hit, you get extra benefits, get a short damage boost and all that kind of stuff. All of these like deeper laying mechanics are just like completely not getting access by people when they don't realize that this dash exists. So I have to make sure that like at least that they are aware of it. Like I can't force them to like engage with the rest of the systems like beyond that. Like that's also like something that I like actually didn't really want when I built my levels. I actually wanted to build the levels in such a way that usually the double jump isn't required. Usually the dash isn't required. Like this got kind of like loosened the later I went in the development of the game, but at first I was like very strict about that because I wanted the movement options to be options. I wanted them to be something people can use to find their own approach and own ways through the game, and not as much something where I force them to use it. I just needed to make sure that they know that these options exist, and it seems that in terms with the dash, at least again with the very limited information that I have, people haven't used that. So by the way, if you played the demo and like you're seeing this video, I'm like, if I'm not forgetting it again, I'll also post this to the Steam page, so who knows, maybe someone sees this. Please let me know if you used the dash mechanic. That would be great to know. So just so that I'm aware how many people, like how often that might be a problem. Again, in the demo, it's not, I'm not that surprised because that the demo doesn't have the intro stage in it. So there's no way to teach you that. So aside from you reading like the manual bit in the main menu, but again, who does that? So yeah, anyway, so that's kind of like was kind of a thing where like I actually spent much more time thinking about than actually working on, but it's still something where like again, and here you can see how helpful it is to do playtests to some degree, or like release a demo and like get a way for people to record what they're doing when you're not able to show off the game on festivals or whatever, like it's currently the case. Because for example, if I would have shown GB Robo at a festival, like when it was a bit earlier in development, I would have seen that people never used the dash. Like, I don't know, 50 people play it on a day and only 3 people use the dash. I would have known, okay, I need to do something to make sure that people use this mechanic. And this way, like, because I was mostly building with testing for myself, I had no clue. Which again is partially, I wouldn't say my fault, because how, like, again, I can only also offer playtests, and if I don't get any feedback and don't see anything, I can't do anything. So it's always rough. I hope this works. I haven't put this element in because on the chance that I might find a different way, and I don't want to fiddle around in stages several times. So I'll have to see how this goes, but it's an ongoing thing. So, and if I roughly shortly before release or whatever, if I can think of a better way, I'll just use the setup that I showed you earlier, and hope for the best. and yeah, so that's that. That's what I did, kind of. What have I planned for this week? So I didn't really do any work for like planning the Steam Next Fest, because I was like occupied with the demo and like again kind of feeling like not very motivated to do stuff, and could kind of took a bit of a break. But what I want to do this week is I want to test the streaming setup, like want to make sure that I can actually stream to my game Steam page, which might require me some fiddling around. I'll probably do that in the next few days. I'll also have to and then schedule streams for the Steam Next Fest. I'm still debating if I do 1 or 2. I'm currently leaning towards 1 because I don't know what I want to do for a second one. And then finish all the contact lists that I have started, which is all of them. So I still need some work there. And yeah, Also, I have to hope, like, for the Steam Next Fest when I plan streaming, that my internet won't cut out, because since last week my internet has been starting to act up, which was, like, very weird. Like, basically every few hours the connection just goes away. I think my router might be dying, but I have no idea. So that's also, like, something that's going on. Aside from that, though, again, please check out the demo if you're interested in the game and just want to see if it's something that you might like. Again, it's like a fairly good chunk of the game. The main game is larger and like has more elaborate segments in each of the main stages. So it's not that you're playing completely the same ones, but like roughly like about a third of each of the demo stages is also in the full game stages, but the latter part has been extended and to some, like in some instances changed quite a lot, in some instances changed not that much. Again, it always depends, but like it's larger, it's more content, what people like. Anyway, so please check out the demo. Please wishlist the game on Steam if you haven't already. And also, like, as always, follow @Mokograd on Twitter, subscribe to the email newsletter, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already for like all of these kinds of updates and other kind of stuff, and like keep an eye out for like possible test streams for like the Steam page and all that kind of stuff, and also like the Steam Next Fest, which is going to happen in like a bit more than a week. So this is going to be fun, I think, and the release is also not that far off. So lots of stuff to do, lots of interesting things happen, and I hope people will learn how to dash in this game. That would be cool. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, see you soon. Bye.